Hey everyone, welcome back to Melissa's Kitchen Table. Today I'm going to show you how I make patate fricassee in the Instant Pot. I do have another video, an older one, of how to do it in the crock pot. So this one I'm going to show you. So this is a recipe my aunt used to make all the time when I was growing up. And she's from Fort Kent, Maine, and they used to, they were farmers, so this is the type of stuff they ate, meat and potatoes. So typically, they would make like a roast, and whatever they had left over, another night, they would make this with it. But I don't have leftover roast, and most often, I don't make this with leftover roast. Usually I will just make it with a fresh roast. But anyways, that's how they used to do it. So I have 3 decent sized onions. Now I do not vary this at all. The only thing I vary is the vessel I cook it in. Everything else is always the same. Seasonings are always the same. I will use different potatoes. Like today we have gold potatoes. That I don't care. But I always cut it the same, everything. So you're going to do pretty decent sized chunks of potatoes. And I just peel the potatoes, wash them, and then I cut them into rounds. That's how she did it. I always do it that way. I don't cut them into chunks. It's always the same way. Now, I'm cutting them a decent size because my meat is not cooked, and I'm going to cook that in the pressure cooker as well. And the potatoes do not fall apart as long as you cut them a good size, as well as the onions. The onions do tend to come apart a little bit more, but they kind of help make the sauce. So nice and thick like that. I'll show you one of the onions, and then I'll finish this. So same thing, just peel them, leave them whole, and I cut them into rings, like that. Now that's how my aunt always made it. So that's how I make it. Just like that. And it's simply beef, potatoes, onions. I don't put any other vegetables. I don't put anything else in it because that would be more of like a beef stew. Whereas this is considered potato stew because the bulk of it was always potatoes because they used the leftover meat. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of this and we'll be right back. Okay, so I used 3 good-sized onions and I had about 2.5 pounds of potatoes. And of course, that all depends on how much stew you want to make. Now, I've mentioned before when we get beef, it's usually we'll buy a quarter of a cow. So you don't always get to tell them exactly how large or small you want your roast. So for this type of dinner, we're going to use a chuck roast. I've cooked it with plenty of other kinds, like a rump roast or I'm trying to think what else. I mean, I've even done it with steak. But chuck roast is the best to use. Now, like I said, ours is grass-fed, so it does sometimes look a little bit different than what you're used to getting in the stores. And this is a really big hunk of meat. You could use a lot less than that. So if you get it in the store, you might not have to trim off all of the fat like I have to here. But I don't want this to be overly greasy. So I just trim it up. And yeah, I probably should be using another knife, but I already dirtied this one, so I don't want to have to clean another one. So you could just buy stew meat too. That would be really easy. You don't have to cut it. You could cut this as small or as big as you like. But because I'm only cooking this for 35 minutes, that way the potatoes and onions stay, you know, shape-wise, I cut these into about an inch, inch and a half chunks like that. Alright, so I'm just going to break down this roast. Now this is great for leftovers. It is great to freeze. I'm going to be giving some to my dad because he grew up on this. This is mine and his favorite. We love this. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and cut up the rest of this, and then when I season this and turn it on, I'll show you. Okay, so here's what it all looks like. I already put some salt in there. You could put as much or as little as you want. If you want pepper, we do not use pepper. The only other seasoning I do use is Gravy Master. This is the same brand my aunt always used. So I do the same as her, about tablespoon and a half of that. And then for the Instant Pot, you need at least a cup of liquid. This will make more, so I have about a cup and a half in here. And I'll mix this around to see if I need any more of the Gravy Master. Alright. I'll probably put just a little bit more. And I know, you know, like beef stew and everything, you could add different veggies and stuff. But like I said, this is just the particular recipe my aunt always made. So I like to make it identical to her. Okay, so for this, you want to make sure your ring, the silicone ring, is pushed down properly. Otherwise, this will not come up to temperature. Put it on. You're going to close it. I'm going to move you guys so you can see. Now over here, you want to make sure that this is on sealing. Then down here, we're going to hit manual. Mine's on high pressure. And I'm going to do this for 35 minutes. And then you're just going to let that go. It's going to automatically start. Okay, so now it's going to start to build the pressure, and that takes time to happen. The more stuff you have in here, the longer it's going to take. So once the pressure builds up, this will start counting down. Once it counts down, it'll beep. It'll be ready. You could do quick release. It's a stew, so if you don't have time and it manually releases on its own, that's fine. I just do a quick release, wait until this pops back down, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all set. Okay, we'll be back. Okay, so here's what it looks like after 35 minutes in the Instant Pot. And you could see the meat is like super tender. The potatoes are not mushy. See how it just falls apart like that? Trying to get a picture so you can see how tender it is. That wasn't it. Alright, so that's what it looks like. That was with 1.5 cups of water. I don't think there's too much juice, but here is what it looks like. Now, if you start stirring it around a lot, then it will get a little bit mushier. But if you just serve it right from here, it'll be fine. You could check for seasoning if you need to add any salt to it. That's up to you. But this is my family's Patate Fricassee. I did just want to mention one thing because I'm sure I'll get comments about it. The beef, if you feel more comfortable sauteing it first, you could do that. And then throw the vegetables in on top of it. I don't sear the meat first. I don't think you have to, but if you like that, if you like it for presentation, of course you can go ahead and do that. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up and share, hit subscribe, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.